Hey everyone and welcome. In this guide, you're going to learn how you can carry your team like the pro player Wardell. Wardell has been making waves in the Valorant PRO scene recently. He is currently a member of TSM. TSM is widely regarded as the best Valorant team in North America. They recently won the T1 Invitational, which was North America's first official Valorant tournament. In this guide, you will be learning how to lock down attacking lanes on defense, how to strategically play for picks on offense, and how to use the operator to its fullest potential, along with some jett tricks. So let's jump straight into it, with Wardell playing on the map Split, starting on the defender side. The first thing I want to point out is how important it is to gain mid control on Split. Without control of mid, it is near impossible to corral attackers and keep them honest with what bomb site they plan to attack. Giving up mid control means that attackers have two new areas to attack from mid. They can go B from B heaven, or they can go to A site from vents to A heaven. This makes it very difficult to predict where they're going to attack, and leaves the attackers very flexible since they can quickly rotate to either site. Compare this to if you had mid control. Well, then there's only one area they have to funnel through to attack the sites, either garage to B site, or A main to A site. Now, let's take a moment to check out the positions Wardell's team is playing. They have Omen on A site, Sova on A ramp, Jett in vents, Phoenix in mailroom, and Sage on B site. This is really close to standard positions for Split on defense. However, typically, you put your Sage in mid to wall it off and help you control this important area of the map, and you put Cypher on B to hold site by himself. With no Cypher on his team, they decide to put Sage in B to solo hold the site, which is pretty common given that Sage is one of the only agents in the game who can solo hold sites with their utility. However, what we want to highlight is how when it comes to standard positions on Split, you essentially always have one on A site, one on ramp, one in B heaven, and one on B site. Then you have the rotator. They can play B heaven or vents, but they're always a mid player who will be rotating back and forth from A to B site to try to help stack the defense. This is Wardell's role in this game, and honestly is one of the most valuable roles in ranked on Split, since you will get to have the most action and have the largest impact on the game. Looking at the minimap, you can see a Brimstone tried to rush A ramp before Omen could put a smoke down. Brimstone is quickly cleaned up by Sova, but in an attempt to prevent a follow-up first round rush of A site, Wardell quickly abandons mid and rotates to A heaven to assist Omen. This is exactly what the role of a rotator does on Split. As soon as they spot an enemy, they quickly rotate to help defend a possible rush on that site. Phoenix trails behind him to watch their flank in the event that someone could have been lurking mid and was waiting for a free pick. But notice how he doesn't overcommit. Instead, Phoenix is still watching mid, just making sure he's hugging closer to A site to get there faster in case of a possible rush. This is something all players should incorporate into their games. You don't have to straight up rotate like Wardell did when you see an enemy. Instead, you can simply cover the same area of the map, but try to hook closer to the side that the enemy team has shown on. Wardell and Sova hold ramp from heaven instead of site because Omen has a one-way smoke on T-spawn to ramp. One-way smokes are very important pieces of info that everyone should know if they play agents with smokes. One-way smokes allow for defenders to see the bottom halves of attackers' bodies, while in turn, the attackers cannot see the defenders at all. Not a lot of players know about this one-way smoke Omen can do on Split, by the way. To perform an Omen one-way smoke, you must start by lining up the smoke with the wall you want to attach it to. Try to get the circle indicator to be half on and half off the vertical surface you wish to place the smoke on. Try to keep the smoke floating off the ground to prevent it from falling, but also keep it as low as possible to the ground to harness as much efficiency in the integrity of the smoke. Remember, the red and green arrows do not hold any indication that the smoke will stick to the surface you are trying to place it on. This means it will be on you to measure with your own eyes and expertise to land the smoke. Through practice and trial and error, anyone can learn how to do this one-way smoke and use it to their advantage. Now, jumping back into the game, it turns out the Brimstone was alone in A main as 3 enemies appear on the minimap in B main. Whenever you see 3 enemies grouped up in an area, it almost always means the enemy team will be looking to take that bomb site. Again, we see the immediate rotate coming out from Wardell and his team. This is one of the advantages to rotating so fast. Wardell and his team are now able to push in and help with defending before the attackers have had time to plant the bomb or set up in proper post-plant positions. We also see that Wardell makes a smart play to stay up on heaven to give himself a height advantage on the attackers already in sight. On maps with extreme verticality, taking heaven positions as a defender gives you a distinct advantage because most attackers run onto site aiming at head level looking for quick kills. Being on height positions allows you to catch attackers off guard because most people do not think to look up quickly. Additionally, you are looking down on enemies' heads, which makes it much easier to land headshots compared to the enemy who will be looking up. He hears an attacker plant default on B site and stays heaven before dropping down. He knows that in a few seconds the planter will get off the plant and run to hide in a safe spot for post-plant. This allows him to net a free and easy headshot as soon as the Omen stands up. He then sees Cypher put up his cam on the wall, which could only be done if he's in the back of sight to the right, and immediately gives a call out of Cypher's position behind the smoke. We can learn a couple things from this round. First, starting with the importance of mid control, and second, how fast rotations, especially by mid players, often dictate whether or not you'll be able to hold a bomb site. Jumping ahead to round 3, Wardell makes the unusual purchase to go full glass cannon and buy an operator with no armor. Keep in mind, Wardell is world renowned for his AWPing skills, and Jett is the agent right now for AWPing. She is the best in the operator role due to her dash ability, letting her quickly disengage after a fight. Her updraft allows her to get to off angles in various height positions. And lastly, her smokes help prevent enemies from rushing her. Additionally, the operator can be an insanely powerful weapon on defense since it allows you to hold angles and lock down important areas of the map. And we can see this with him holding the angle in mid on Ramen Shop. He even goes for a more aggressive off angle by walking out of vents. This does two things. First, an off angle means you're playing a position not a lot of players expect, so they often won't have their crosshair in the proper position when they peek you and you'll catch them by surprise. Second, it actually avoids a super common smoke that goes down on vents by the attacking team to block vision for the vents player. This is definitely a spot to copy if you find yourself constantly being smoked out of vents. If we look at the minimap, we can see Phoenix is holding his cross while he aggresses towards Ramen. This is something you always want to look to do in your own games. If you see your teammate is aggressively holding an angle, try to stand nearby them so you can swing around the corner once they make contact with an enemy. This will often catch an enemy off guard and you can net a free kill. He goes for a quick shot on Cypher, catching him off guard, but unfortunately misses. It's here we see just how great Jett is as an agent, allowing him to easily dash to safety after taking the shot. With Wardell no longer holding the angle on mid, they have no more information on whether the enemy team is looking to push in and control it. This is why he goes for a tight peek to check sewers, again, looking to use that operator to control the most important area of the map, mid, while also using it to gain information. This allows him to get a pick on the enemy Brimstone. The reason we want to highlight this is because most players would have fallen all the way back to B Heaven to hold the angle there. However, this would let the enemy team creep forward, gain control of mid, and then smoke Wardell off to execute a push into vents towards A site. After taking the shot, he then falls back to prevent enemies from rushing him if they're up close. Then, once he has another bullet in the chamber, him and Phoenix again move in to try to regain control in their stranglehold of mid. Phoenix peeks the corner and they now know that no other attackers are mid. This is huge and demonstrates what mid control can get you. This means the enemy can only attack A site or B site from one direction. This is why Wardell and Phoenix immediately begin falling back to play from B Heaven. That way they're much closer to B site to defend a push from there. Sure enough, Sage goes down and they're now already in a position to defend site with Phoenix picking up a quick kill on the enemy raise. Next, we see the standard Sage wall going down to protect attackers as they push into B site, but we also see one of the most common mistakes players make, not hugging close to the wall, and instead running too far away from it, exposing their heads to defenders in B Heaven. Wardell sees the wall going up and quickly hops on top of the box in Heaven, and this gives him a strategic advantage with a line of sight over the Sage wall. And then, we see the enemy Sage not hug the Sage wall, which leaves Wardell with an easy kill. Additionally, killing the enemy Sage can be a big deal, since they not only lose heals and a potential res, but they also lose crowd control to prevent the defenders from rotating into B site fast, and in general, make it much more difficult for the attackers to hold. Now, only Omen is left, but take note of how Wardell doesn't just rush in trying to get the kill. Instead, he waits for his teammates to rotate to give them an overwhelming number advantage, and then he looks to push in. This helps avoid the super common scenario of throwing, where you go in one by one dying to the last enemy alive. In the end, Sova is lurking watching for the rotate and picks up the kill on Omen, but overall another fantastic round from Wardell, showing you how to effectively control mid and rotate to defend bomb sites. Transitioning into round 4, we will be seeing how map positioning on defense on split can make retaking sites a difficult task. To start off this round, we can see a map positioning flaw on defense to start the round. Omen is playing very far up close to A ramp, and he has no one to back him up on site, Heaven, or his close ramp. If we look at the rest of the defense's positions, Jett and Phoenix are holding the same position in mailroom of mid, and Sova and Sage are playing close to B main door on B site. These are flawed positions because not only does it leave A site open and free to take if Omen dies, but it also gives the rest of the defense a long rotation route back to A if they attempt to retake the site. The standard mid hold on split should be 1 in vents, 1 in mail, and 1 in heaven, or close to ropes on B site to defend that half of the map on split. Jett and Phoenix both put themselves at a greater risk of dying and losing the round because they both leave themselves vulnerable to damage if they both hold the same close angles. In this instance, Wardell has an operator, and to fix these positioning mistakes of his teammates, he should be holding a tight angle looking out of vents into Ramen. To start off the round, Omen gets fast pushed by attackers through his smoke and calls out that the enemy team is now on A site. This leaves the rest of Wardell's team in a difficult position, as A site is not an easy site to retake on split due to the various places to hide in that area of the map. To begin the retake, he looks to go through close vents and make his way to Heaven to get the most value out of his operator. Upon his arrival in Heaven, he hears Ray's pop her ultimate and immediately looks towards the smoke in Heaven window, assuming she is near. Just like that, his prediction is right, and he snipes Raze coming out of the smoke before she even has a chance to react and use her ultimate. Taking out Raze is huge for this retake because not only is the threat of the Raze ult gone, but all of Raze's damage utility is out of the picture and his team is not threatened by walking out of choke points into A site. Now we begin to see why Wardell is one of the best Jetts in the world, as he looks to take over this round by himself. He immediately pops his ult and begins to clear corners fast in ramp as he makes his way down to site. Jett's ult is a great tool for clearing corners because of the ability's right click, firing all 5 knives at the same time. This is better than using an operator in this situation because Wardell has full accuracy while running with Jett's ult, and this will allow him to dry peek and fast check his corners. Now we get to see a world-class Jett player go to work. One thing to note about Jett's ult is that the left click single fire mode is perfectly accurate while moving and has no recoil or fall off damage at range. Each blade does 50 damage to the body and does over 150 damage to the head. This means that it is a guaranteed one-shot kill at all ranges to the head. He uses precise crosshair placement by aiming at head level to land one-shot kills on enemies as he runs into sight. He surgically takes out Cypher and Brimstone with headshots before they could even react. It is also worth noting that when Jett uses her ult, her blades are near silent when throwing them. This makes her ult an ideal weapon to use when clutching to keep your movements and position as quiet and stealthy as possible. Wardell thinks quickly on sight as he uses Jett's updraft and float passive to get himself out of the Sage slow and cut down the Sage in the backside. Remember, Jett's updraft in combination with her float passive is a great tool to help you escape crowd control and Sage walls. This round shows how imperative good map positioning on defense can be for holding a site as long as possible. We also got to see why Wardell is considered one of the best Jetts in the world and how she can retake sites by herself with just her ult, good aim, and quick thinking in the clutch. Hopping straight into attack, Wardell chooses to go with a Ghost, 2 smokes, and 1 updraft for Jett on this attacking pistol round. It is worth noting that taking smokes on Jett for offense is a nice tool to have, not only because it can slow potential pushes, but more importantly to cover your escape in the event that you get fast pushed. Looking at the minimap, you can see Wardell is attempting to solo push mid while his teammates begin trying to siege A site. Wardell staying back mid allows them to have someone watching their flank from sewers and vents and allows him to call out who is rotating and when. Getting back into the action, Raze pre-nades Ramen and forces him to back off his position in mid. He turns around and quickly checks his flank to make sure any B players haven't slowly walked up behind him to start the round. Always remember when playing passive on attacking rounds to check behind you and check your common flank routes. Smart defenders will look to play aggressive and push into attacker territory to get free and easy kills on attackers that aren't paying attention. Omen is being a team player and smokes vents to allow him and Wardell to make a rotate flank through A vents to A heaven to gain control of site. To his surprise, as he turns and makes his dash for vents, he is met with a Raze that snuck past Omen's smoke and attempted to go on a long flank through sewers. Remember, checking corners is imperative when attacking. This prevents defenders who are hiding in inconspicuous places from getting free kills on attackers. He turns around in just enough time to land the one-tap on Raze from behind. Getting a kill on Raze is crucial to the round because the Raze could have potentially killed both Omen and Wardell in mid, or she could have went on the long flank undetected and ruined the round for the attacking team. Seeing more of his teammates fall in their attempted A push, he looks to quickly grab bomb and rotate for a quick plant on B. Omen is holding his flank from inside vents to cut off potential rotations. This only gives Wardell a small window of time to try to salvage this crucial first round. Unfortunately, his attempt is foiled by a Cypher that never rotated that was hiding in sight. While his attempt to save the first attacking round was meaningful, Wardell failed to give respect that not all of the defenders could have rotated and one could have been close by or even in sight. If we look at the game time, Wardell had 50 seconds left at the time he tried to plant. This is more than enough time to quickly clear sight, to make sure his back was covered, and to make sure he could have gotten a successful plant down. In the end, a small, simple mistake like not checking corners or clearing a site before planting can cost you an important round. Phasing in around 15, Wardell's team is up 8-6, and they look to get picks this round to keep their economy alive and inch away from a very close game score. Wardell is back at it this round with his glass cannon loadout of no armor, half utilities, and an operator as he looks to do work by forcing picks this round for his team. He slow walks in the garage to check his immediate corners in B main to ensure no defenders try to peek corners or push out. One very notable skill that he shows in this instance is walking while zoomed in with the operator. Walking while using the AWP makes the weapon very inaccurate, but Wardell uses a peeking strategy with it called counter-strafing that allows him to walk with the operator and still be able to land shots in an instance. Counter-strafing, put simply, is walking in a certain direction with a weapon and then quickly hitting the opposite of that key to give a character movement input that makes your character stop moving and maintain full accuracy while shooting a weapon. Using this technique allows him to be very aggressive with the operator and drive peek corners and land shots on enemies as he peeks them with 100% accuracy. After checking the immediate corners looking into B site, his teammates push ahead of him into sight as he plays a passive role of holding the long angle in an attempt to kill any defender that swings on his team that was hiding close. His teammates were cut down by a Cypher holding close right outside of B main, but this doesn't stop him from trying to make a play. He makes an attempt to dash behind pillar to make it past the sage flows and set him up to take shots into heaven. Him playing next to wooden box holding an open angle allows for his team to move onto site and attempt to plant while he provides cover and holds heaven for them. Closely, paying attention to his surroundings, Wardell turns his attention to the sage wall that recently broke. He heard Omen getting shot at and focuses his attention to the broken part of the wall and lands a nice quick scope on Raze being aggressive. Wardell is being very smart and patient here, holding his ground behind pillar, playing safe, and manages to find angles around pillar with his operator trying to defend the bomb plant. He manages to get a quick glimpse of Sage falling from heaven holding a tight angle through the broken part of the wall and lands a nice sneaky kill, making it a 1v2. Knowing that he will eventually be pushed now that he has revealed his location, he looks to pick up a Phantom off the ground to better defend himself. Remember, in a clutch situation with bomb down, if you currently have a sniper, look to find an automatic weapon to give yourself the advantage in a potential close quarters fight or in the event you need to engage two people at once. Now that he has info that both Omen and Brimstone are on the ground and off heaven, he looks to be as slippery as possible and take advantage of Jett's smokes. This allows him to maneuver through smokes and take up a defensive position in the backside of B. It also allows him to waste as much time as possible and force the defenders to make a move. Wardell has complete confidence and control of the situation and plays backside by manipulating the Omen smoke and forcing the last two defenders to challenge him or stick the defuse. He calls for his teammates to ping bomb spot on the map. This is a clever technique that players use to spray the ping through a smoke in the event that a defender commits to a sneak defuse. He holds his angle with the Phantom and manages to cut down both Brim and Omen as they push through the smoke, and he wins his 1v3 clutch. Looking to repeat their success from previous rounds in round 16, Wardell looks to find another impact frag to start off the round by purchasing an operator and holding the sewer side of mid. Remembering his experiences from previous rounds, Raze likes to play aggressive in mid and overextend. This would justify his operator purchase, as it gives him a better tool to contest Raze or any other potential mid players if they peek or try to push him again. Smokes come down in mid, followed by a Raze grenade, and he backs out of sewers and follows his team in their attempt to take A heaven. If you listen to their comms, you can hear Phoenix say he got a head dink on the defender holding upper ramp.
Oh, dink heaven, let's go, baby!
Getting an opening kill or simply putting damage on someone holding a site is a great indicator of a fast push. Remember, fast pushing a site while risky can greatly benefit an attacking team, as it allows them to gain control of a site early before rotations or utility come down to stop them. This also allows for attackers to set up the utility and get into post plant spots early. This in turn makes it a lot harder for the defenders to retake the site. After a quick exchange of gunfire and trade kills, you hear Raze start to push ramp to clear out the remaining attackers. In this situation, you can see how important listening to game audio closely can be, as you can hear Raze's footsteps stomping on the metal ramp coming up behind him. Watching his teammates' backs as they retreated away, he looks behind him with the operator and neutralizes the Raze before she can do damage with her ult. Looking to continue their attacking momentum off that pick, they push site as quick as possible before rotations come through. Wardell, once again with a great game sense, checks his close corner on A heaven and lands a nice one burst on a Brimstone, looking to stop their push. With his operator, he jumps into heaven to watch into CT spawn, expecting the last Cypher to rotate through heaven. He misses his shot onto Cypher, and to make as clean of a getaway as possible, he uses his smokes to create a diversion so he can walk further into heaven and potentially get a close quarter shot onto Cypher. Using Jett's smokes in this fashion allows him to be as slippery as possible and potentially re-engage Cypher in heaven as he tries to limit his vision and put pressure on him to make a move. As the smokes clear, Cypher is nowhere to be found. With this information, the only logical place Cypher could have gone is screen. Wardell peeks out from heaven window and lands a quick snipe down on a Cypher behind the sage wall and screens. So how are you liking the new map split? Is it one of your favorites? Do you dread playing on it? Or do you find it to be average? Let us know in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides like this one designed to help you with one goal in mind, helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching. This is Sergeant Frost, and remember, winter is coming.